Writing a good system prompt is one of the most crucial things, or even the most important thing, to make sure that your AI voice agent is ready for real use cases in actual businesses. That is why today we're going to be talking about 22 best practices for voice agent prompt design. And also I'll provide you with dental receptionist prompt templates so that you can use it as a template to build the agent that you want to build. First, it's really important to define a clear persona/role, so give your agent a strong identity, name, role, and traits. For example, you are Anna, a warm, cheerful, and professional virtual receptionist. For business, we're going to be using variables. That's another thing that we're going to be talking about next. In a dental clinic, and so on. And as you can see in the template that gives an example of the system prompt, defines the name and some properties of the personality of the AI agent. Also, it defines the role clearly and some other traits. By the way, you'll have this template completely available in the Skool community, but don't worry, I'm just going to be talking about everything that you have here. So if you want, you can just take screenshots and share it with your LLM of choice and have it give it to you. So yeah, you can do that. Great. So next, we're going to be setting the environment/context to clarify where and how the agent operates. For example, you are speaking over the phone with a caller, your responses are converted to spoken voice, so clarity, pacing, and natural phrasing matter, okay? So in the template, it says a more complete context and environment example compared to the one that is in the slides. It says that you are interacting with a potential patient over the phone who is calling the main line of the dental clinic. The user is seeking assistance with a dental concern, and the environment is a professional first contact setting. You have access to essential scheduling tools, which we are going to be defining them down. As you can see, the template is quite long. You must prioritize empathy and clarity due to the sensitive nature of health concerns. The third best practice is to specify tone and style rules. Tell the model how to sound, tone, speech style, and vocabulary. An example is tone should be warm, reassuring, professional. Use a natural conversational style, contractions, occasional let me see, okay, I see, etc. Just to make sure that it's conversational, okay, and it sounds like you are talking to a human. Because of course the TTS model that you're choosing matters, but also another aspect that makes an agent sound human is to use these filler words, okay? And of course, in the template, they are defined. I'm not going to read it all, but just the first aspects. So your tone should be warm, professional, and reassuring, be concise, generally keep responses to 1 to 2 focused sentences to maintain flow, but allow for slightly longer, empathetic responses if the patient expresses pain or anxiety. Conversational flow and mark it as critical. Structure your sentences to sound like natural human speech. Avoid overly formal syntax, excessive clauses, or long, perfectly structured paragraphs. Use filler words occasionally to sound natural, and use listening affirmation when the patient speaks for more than a second. Say like, aha, got it, I see, right, perfect, and understood, and so on. Okay. The fourth best practice is to break the conversation into a clear flow. So define a step-by-step path so the agent never loses direction. Okay, so it can actually be talking. So of course, it can develop the conversation staying inside one of these steps. But then when the agent considers, it's going to focus again the conversation to meeting the goal that it is defined. Okay, and to meet the goal, it's going to be following the steps that we define here. So an example is to create an ask purpose, classify the end, if new appointment, blah, blah, blah. Okay. In the template, you can actually set different goals. As you can see, there is goal 1, that it's new appointment booking. But I have also defined goal 2, existing appointment management, okay? Because this voice agent is actually one that I'm going to do a video about, and this dental clinic agent can also manage existing appointments, okay? But as you can see, it defines like phase 1, initial assessment and service classification, greet the client. If the goal is a new consultation or treatment for a specific issue, proceed to phase 2. If the goal is general information of pricing, and it defines the actions and how to proceed and so on, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it. And at the end, it says success is measured by the successful execution of the tool called like this after collecting the required piece of information. Okay. The fifth best practice is to use pre-tool excuses before invoking the external tools and naturalize API calls with human sounding transition. So basically, it's just to make sure that the agent is going to say, one moment, let me check availability, instead of going and check the availability straight away and being silent for about 10 seconds, because that's weird. Another excuse is, all right, let me go ahead and book that for you for the book appointment in Google Calendar tool. As you can see, these pre-tool excuses are defined in the guardrails section. Here in pre-tool excuse, critical before calling scheduling tools, you must first verbally signal and so on. And important, do not mention internal APIs or tools by name. However, in the tools section, I have defined that the tool that allows the agent to check the current date and time, it's not going to use a verbal excuse because it doesn't really make sense. So you can also do that if it doesn't make sense for the agent to excuse itself to use the tool. Just you can add this text in the tool's definition, and that's going to be it. As you have already seen, we'll have to include guardrails and don't do rules. So explicitly forbid risky or undesired actions. An example is never invent details or guess missing information. If the user asks medical questions, I'm sorry, I can only assist with scheduling/general info. As I have already shown you, this agent has a lot of guardrails. First, the pre-tool excuse that we have already seen, the essential information gate, you must not attempt to schedule until the two required pieces of information and a confirmed time is gathered. Also, if a clinic question arises, you must politely apologize that you can only assist with scheduling and so on. Error handling, if a client response is unclear, a tool is unavailable, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, there are quite a lot of rules that are here, and you, of course, can add more. The seventh best practice is to add a fallback/error handling logic, as we have already seen in the guardrails. So if a tool returns an error or no availability, I'm sorry, that slot is not available. Would you prefer another time? And yeah, that's what we have already seen. The eighth best practice is to define formatting conventions. So ensure that consistent natural outputs for dates, times, and confirmation. An example is to express dates and times naturally. October 1st at 6:30 p.m. instead of saying literally the date in a date-time format. Okay, so just to double check, your name is this, the appointment is on this at this, correct? So yeah, be sure to define conventions. The best practice number 9 is to limit response length and pacing. We have already seen this. Keep your responses short and clear, 1 to 2 sentences when possible. In the template also says that allow for slightly longer empathetic responses if the patient expresses pain or anxiety. The best practice number 10 is handle noise gracefully. Anticipate voice recognition imperfections. You may have a slight transcription noise or pauses, just to let the agent know that this can happen. Number 11 is to include test scenarios/example dialogues. Add a few short examples to anchor expected behavior. So if the user says, I need a checkup, go for the standard appointment. If the user says, I'm in pain right now, go for the emergency flow, and so on. So in the template, there is an example dialogue snippet section, as you can see. So example 1, new patient greeting, users, hello, hi there, thanks for calling dental group, my name is Anna, and how can I help you today? Actually, in this case here, there should be the variable business name. I'm just going to add it quickly. We're going to be seeing this variable thing, but yeah, right now we're going to continue with it. Example 2, data collection. I've got a really bad toothache in the back. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. I can certainly help you schedule, and so on. You see what I'm saying. The best practice number 12 is to iterate using long and failure cases. Refine the prompt with real user data. An example would be log instances where clarification was needed or tool errors occurred. Use those logs to refine and iterate the prompt. The 12th best practice is to use logs and failure cases that you can see in your N8N logs and so on. So make sure to be collecting logs to be able to improve your voice agent based on data. The best practice number 13 is to use modular variables inject-on-ready design. As we have already seen, we have used different variables such as business name and agent name and so on. In the template, these variables are inside the internal configuration section, and there are inside of a table. There is the parameter column where we are defining the name of the variable, and then we are defining the value of the variable. So for owner name, it's going to be Dr. Smith. For business name, it's going to be Liberty Dental Group. For primary service name, it's going to be dental consultation, and so on. Okay. And actually, some of these variables are going to be shaping the values that get passed to the tool. So for example, if you need for a specific tool that the agent passes the time zone, it's going to pass the time zone that you define here. The best practice number 14 is to maintain consistency across sections. So yeah, just make sure that different sections do not contradict among each other. Okay, that's something I think pretty basic, but yeah, just to make sure that does not happen. The best practice number 15 is to be precise and ambiguous. Clarity piques creativity. Specify exact desired behavior. So for example, if a tool returns an error, propose alternatives. Explicit action, not vague guidance. I think that we have already seen this in the template, so I'm just going to pass to the next slide, okay? The next best practice is to break complex actions into sub-steps. This action is just to make sure that you have defined the goals correctly inside of the prompt, okay? We have already been talking about that. And also we have already seen that it's define metrics and success criteria. In the template, we already saw that success is measured by the successful execution of these, or these, okay? But if success, for example, is defined if an appointment has been set, we should be describing this success here, okay? The best practice number 18 is to use self-fallback phrases, provide clear, polite phrases for uncertainty, just to make sure that the agent is polite, of course. The best practice number 19 is to hide internal logic from users. We have already seen that. Actually, I think that it was like, do not mention API, tool, or function to the user, actually, or something like this. The best practice number 20 is to provide few short examples or demo snippets. This best practice is actually repeated. So yeah, we have already talked about this. The best practice number 21 is to test in realistic voice environments. So besides adding your responses are converted to spoken voice and so on to the prompt, we should be testing the agent outside in the street, for example. The software that I have developed that allows you to create LiveKit agents really easy, that it's inside of the School community, allows you to do that because you can access remotely from your phone. Okay. And the best practice number 22 is to refine incrementally. So as we have already said, you should be testing the agent, seeing what it's not working, and refine the system prompt. Great. So now I'm going to be showing you quickly how to make an AI craft the system prompt for your AI voice agent. So this is basically the slides that we have seen. They are also in Markdown, and these are also going to be able in the School community. What we're going to do is either copy the template of the AI voice receptionist for the dental clinic that we have been seeing. Okay, so you can just Control A, Control C to copy, and then go to your LLM of choice. I like Gemini for this type of tasks. Yeah, I'm just going to tell Gemini that I want you to craft a system prompt for a real estate voice AI agent. Please make sure to adapt this template, and now I'm going to be pasting it. Okay, so it's obviously going to adapt the prompt. Actually, as you can see, we are not receiving the Markdown code, so just say I want it as Markdown code so that I can copy paste. Of course, you're going to have to adapt the tools in case that you are not using generalist tools for AI voice agent appointment setters. In my case, it make sense to have all these. So yeah, I'm just going to leave the prompt as it is. Of course, if you would have to change any tool, you'll want to tell it, please change the tool called this to this, okay, and tell it what it does. But yeah, in my case, I'm just going to tell it this, and it's going to give us the markdown code so that we can copy the prompt and then go to the control panel where you are creating your voice agent. In my case, it is the LiveKit control panel that I've created. It's inside of the Skool community. Okay, you can self-host everything, and it allows you to connect a phone number and receive and make calls with a phone number that you have linked. Okay, just by creating a zip trunk and a dispatch rule, it makes it really simple. But yeah, in my case, I'm just going to paste the system prompt here, and that's going to be it. Okay, of course, you can just make sure to also copy paste all these best practices that you also have in the Skool community, that it's basically the ones that we have seen in this video, and tell the LLM that please make sure that the system prompt follows these best practices, and just paste them all, and it's going to start checking if everything is being followed or made the right changes. Great, so I hope that it has been useful, that it's going to improve the way you write system prompts for your AI voice agents, and that finally you see that the agent follows whatever you want it to do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see you in the next video.